Yoo-hoo! Where is everyone? Is everyone here? Awesome. We're getting some people. We'll wait a couple minutes for everyone. So until then, just have a look at my jungle around me. Hey, Liz. I've got all my plants set up and ready to go and show you. I'm so excited to get you guys prepped for spring. It's my favorite time of year, just because I get really excited to take my plants outside and give them some real love. Couple more minutes for everyone to join. Yeah, I got my lush jungle background here. My house does not look like this, actually. I've just moved a lot of my plants in. That would be pretty wild. Most of my house is filled with toys for kids and a few plants here and there so that I don't have a lot of things that can break or a lot of soil that can be eaten. All right, so we've got 8, and I think we've got like another 8 slated to come. Hopefully more. I've invited a lot of people, and nobody has an excuse. You're all stuck at home, so welcome to my jungle. I'm glad you could join me from a safe distance, of course. I hope you're all staying sane right now. It's a super crazy time in the world, so hopefully this can take your mind off of it a little bit. My name is Meredith, and I own Houseplant Designs. It's an indie-based residential and commercial plant styling business. Besides doing design work, I also consult with people on their plant issues. So if you need a houseplant call, you've got a plant that's not looking so hot, or maybe you just need things repotted and you don't have time, because who has time for that? I am your gal, and you can just visit my website to set up an appointment at houseplantdesigns.com. I'd like to mention that I would love to try some virtual consults, so if that's something you might be interested in, you can go ahead and sign up for one, and we'll just get it through FaceTime or something. Today we're going to talk about prepping your plants for spring. It doesn't quite feel like it yet, but I can see some new growth happening on my plants, so they must have a better sense of what's happening, what time of year it is. And I think this topic is important because a lot of people don't realize that your plants will go dormant in the winter. You might have some growth here or there, but for the most part, they're really just kind of trying to stay alive and conserve energy. So you're really going to see most of your growth happening in the spring and summer, which is why it's my favorite time of year. So when spring rolls through, there's a lot of things we can do to kind of help them on their way, and they'll thank you generously for with beautiful, lush leaves, and you'll have your own jungle going. Okay, so first off, we'll talk about dusting. I know, I don't really want to talk about dusting, but there's nothing more 70s than a dusty old plant. I can't stress it enough. I think dusty plants look awful, and they don't like it either. So let's bring them up to date with a 2020 shiny look. During the winter, when we're all cooped up, and it looks like we're probably going to be cooped up for a few more weeks, or gosh, hopefully not months. And that increases the level of dust in your home. So it'll give your leaves a nice coating of dust, which makes it really hard for light to actually hit the chloroplasts which contain the chlorophyll molecules, which aids in the process of photosynthesis. You all passed middle school science, right? I know, got a bunch of smarties here. So we're going to take a damp, soft cloth, paper towel, whatever, just not anything super rough. And you're going to want to start at the top and use your other hand to help support the bottom so that it doesn't, you don't rip a leaf off, basically. Start from the top and give it a good wipe down, This fiddle has been with me for a couple of years, and I can say that I feel like a successful plant parent because I've kept a fiddle alive. They are really fickle. Fickle's the word. All right, so this guy's already dusty. I just dusted him a few weeks ago. So when you're dusting, it's also a really good time to take a closer look at what's going on with your plant. You might notice some spots on the leaves or bugs or webbing of some sort. These are all issues that you want to address. They mean something is happening with the plant. Plants are great because they will show you so many outward signs of being either like distressed or, hey, I need water, I need more sunlight. And if you can talk to plants, if you're a plant whisperer, you can kind of get a feel for what's going on. And it's really, I think it's fun to diagnose and figure out and try and help them thrive. So that's my thing. So if you have any questions about troubleshooting, like, I don't think I'll be able to get to questions during this live event, but I would like to do a subsequent live event answering those questions. So just message me and I'll try and do another video. I have plenty of time right now. We all do. The other thing that you want to start doing, sorry, I'm reading my notes because my brain has been atrophying with being at home with my kids every day, all day. I love them so much, but oh my God, it's a lot. Okay. Now's the time to start thinking about repotting. So spring and summer are the best seasons to repot. You don't want to repot your plants in fall or winter. They're not going to be growing. There's no need to pot them, and you might just stress them. So do you have some plants from last year or 5 years ago, or if you're my mom, who I hope is watching, 40 years ago maybe, and you've never repotted it, it might be time, they might be outgrowing their pot. So a good way to tell is to take the plant out of the pot and check out the roots. Sometimes you can see the roots growing out of the pot bottom, and that's a sign your plant needs more room. The roots will just start wrapping around themselves and becoming root bound in a pot. I've got the spider plant here. He's in a small pot. He was really rooted in there, so I decided to give him a little wiggle. Excuse me. I gave him a little wiggle before the vent because I didn't want to be struggling with this for too long. He's in a small pot. It was grown from a baby that I propagated last summer, so he's grown quite a bit, and he's pretty happy. He's also got little babies happening, which I'm very excited about. So I will make new plants out of his babies. A really interesting thing about spiders is their plant babies are just actual clones of the original plant. I think that's pretty cool. Very sciencey. Sci-fi. Okay, so I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to show you the roots because that's a good thing to look at to kind of get an idea of what's going on with your plant health. So let's see if you guys can see this. I've got some nice white, sturdy, they're not mushy or black. I've got some nice white roots there, which is a good sign. If you have some black mushy roots happening, then you've got a root rot issue and you're going to want to address that immediately. One thing you do is cut away some of that extra, some of the black roots and repot it. But if it is an extensive problem, you might want to just toss that plant. you know, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to save. So that's the number one reason why a lot of plants die, is actually because they're being overwatered. We love them to death. We kill them with love. I've been guilty of it, and I think I've actually gone the opposite direction, and I'm kind of just waiting for my plants to tell me when they want water. I also use a water meter, which I will link that to this event. It saved a number of my plants, and I find that I don't feel so anxious about when to water. It's just like, hey, I'm gonna use the water meter. If it tells me to water, that's when I water. I don't need to think about it all the time. It's just once a week I'm gonna check them and see how they're doing. So I'm gonna repot this. If the roots look healthy on your plants, you're gonna wanna find a pot that's just 1 to 2 inches larger. You don't wanna go too large. All too often I've seen people putting like a 4-inch plant in a 10-inch pot, and that's gonna lead to root rot issues. It's got too much soil, and the soil is very saturated with water. Those roots are not going to take up that water, so they're going to rot and they're going to mold, and that's no fun for anybody. All right, we're going to repot this baby. All right, I've got this beautiful, cute pot, very fancy. If you're anything like me, your style changes every year, and you get excited about repotting because you can just buy a bunch of new pots. This does not have any drainage hole, and unfortunately, a lot of planters come that way. I'm not really sure why, because it's very important for plants to have good drainage. Simple trick for that is to use some rocks at the bottom to have a little room for drainage in the water. So you can use river rocks, you can use lava rocks, pea gravel, stones from your backyard, you know, whatever you're feeling. Just make sure that you wash off the rocks before you use them, because you might have some uninvited guests coming into your house, and nobody wants that. If I didn't invite you, I don't want you coming over. Alright, so that looks good. Excuse me, I had a very large burger tonight. Alright, so I've got the rocks in there. I'm going to toss in some soil at the bottom. Just a little bit more. And I'm going to give this baby a new home. And the coolest thing is now I've got a pot for somebody else. And maybe I'll give it to its baby. Oh my god. So cute. It was meant to be. Meant to be. Like you and me. Sorry, I've also been drinking. I had a Moscow Mule because I'm insanely nervous to do this. I don't know why. I can't even see any of you guys, which is nice. Babe, don't come in here. You'll distract me. I'm kidding. You can come in if you want. You can show your cute face. He won't. He's shy. Alright, so I got this guy happening in a new plant. You'll just kind of, you know, repot it. If you don't know how to repot, oh my god, let's do a class on that. Hi. If you want to come say hi, you can. Stick your head in my jungle. I don't know who all's on. It's not telling me, or I'm just not tech savvy enough, but hi everyone. I see Liz and Rachel out there. Alright, this guy is going to love his new home because he's going to be able to extend his roots. And another thing about like watering and stuff, like it's really important to give your plants a good drink. Obviously you don't want to overwater them, but giving them a good drink instead of just spritzing them with a little water every few days, you're really maintaining healthy, long root structures. Your roots are going to dive down deep for that water, and that's just, it's healthy for everyone. It's like the Mediterranean diet. Alright, this is taking entirely too long. But he's done. He looks great. Oh my god. Love it. And then I'll water him. It's always good to water right after you repot, so that the roots are starting to grow out. How does he look? He looks a little wilted because he's kind of been sitting out of soil for a day. But I will get him some water. I'm a good plant mama. All right, next thing I want to touch on, after I get this dirt out of my face, let's see. Sorry, again, I'm reading my notes. Okay, we're going to go on to pruning and trimming. So a lot of people are nervous about this step, but it's really easy, and you can actually make an unkempt plant look pretty bad with a few snips. So first though, let's take a close look at your plant. Clean up any dead leaves or debris that you've got going on, and cut away anything that's dead or dying. So you don't want to keep any dead leaves on top of your soil. Mom, you're guilty of this if you're on here. That's going to invite pests, and it could potentially, they'll start molding and things. You don't want anything on top of your soil besides the soil. So I left this yellow. I don't know if you can tell that it's yellow in this light, but it's definitely not green like this guy. I left him on here for this class because I so often see people just letting yellow and brown leaves happen on their plants and not cutting them away. It's actually taking energy away from your actively growing leaves, so get it out of here. It's not going to turn green again. It's gone. It's dead. Cut it off. Cut it right close to the stem. Oh, I'm so excited to do this. See you, bud. You were good while you lasted. So this is actually one of the original leaves. And so you'll see that a lot with plants. Some of the original bigger leaves towards the bottom will start falling and dropping, and turning yellow and stuff. It's not always a sign that something's wrong. Sometimes it is. It's the wonder of plants. You never really know. But if you want to know the answer, I probably know it. I'm just kidding. There's another reason why you should prune and trim. So if you notice some real leggy growth, meaning there's a lot of stem between each leaf, it doesn't look very good, and it's probably, just reaching for some sunlight, basically. So I've got my peperomia plant here. He was about 14 inches tall. I measured him because I was very impressed. And it was having a hard time keeping itself upright. It was starting to flop over. So I gave him a trim. I got some clean scissors, and I gave him a snip right above a leaf. And I just took him down to about half the size because I wanted him to still have some length to him. And so this will start growing again, and it'll give the plant a lusher structure rather than being tall and floppy. He wasn't really lanky. He was just very happy and tall. So sometimes you might also find that your plants have not overwintered well, and it might be time to say goodbye. It might be beyond saving. You've done your best, but if your plant went into winter already stressed, wintertime can be just really hard for plants. So it's okay to dump it. Don't feel guilty, or do. I'm not here to tell you how to feel, but we all kill plants from time to time. If you're having any trouble keeping any plant alive, I'd love to come and help with a design plan for your house. So you've got the right plants in the right spot, so they're not, suffering. So they're thriving, and you can hit me up on houseplantdesigns.com for that. I will also be giving you detailed care instructions for your plants, and I'm available for questions should you have them. I've made several subsequent house calls to check on plants and make sure they're being cared for properly, because I like to look at plants as an investment. They're not cheap, and I don't like to see things die, even if it's a plant. So if you want to do a design with me, I'd love to do that for you. That's like my favorite thing to do. Another thing we can do in spring is start fertilizing. Most people that I talk to have mentioned that they are scared to do this. I don't know why. I've heard that several times, but I'm assuming it's because they think they're going to kill the plant or burn the roots or the leaves, and they're just, or maybe they just feel like it's over their head. I'm not really sure. But fertilizing is actually really essential to a healthy plant. They need those nutrients that are found in pre-made fertilizers to produce leaves, flowers, and maintain healthy root structures. Now, most plants you buy from a plant store come overly fertilized because they're attempting to grow the plants as quickly as possible. They'll have those little granules in them. Those are all fertilizer balls. So you don't need to fertilize new plants. Don't worry about those. I'm really talking about older houseplants, and they will benefit greatly from a monthly feeding. So you can buy, let's see. You can buy a fertilizer from any garden store, basically. I prefer the water-soluble kind because it's easy to add to your watering routine once a month. And I want to stress that this is something you want to do in the spring and summer. You don't need to do it in the fall and the winter. It's not a time when plants are actively growing. So, really just check out spring and summer for that. I have this brand that I got on Amazon, which I think is great. Let's see if I can, wow. I see people doing this. I think it works. Yeah, indoor plant fertilizer, very generic name. It's actually based out of Indiana, and some proceeds or some percentage goes to finding happy homes for at-risk animals. So unless you're a sociopath, you probably also like plants and animals. So some people kind of nerd out on ratios of nutrients and stuff. I find that I like this kind because I can use it for my tropicals and my succulents. I don't have to have one for each. I just pour it in my watering can and I go to town. So I would start with a half dose to start off with. Take care not to splash the leaves a whole bunch. When you're watering, you just want to water the soil. You're not really looking to water the leaves anyway. So two other things you can use for fertilizer if you've got them. You have rainwater, but you can use fish tank water or rainwater. And with fish tank water, I would probably dilute it half and half with some regular water as well, because it might be a little too strong. And rainwater is just rainwater. It's great. You can just get it anywhere, especially in spring. So your plants will thank you with plenty of new growth, and that's always really fun to see. Excuse me. Taking plants outside. Now, I know as well as anybody, I get so excited to take my plants outside. It feels like I'm reuniting a lost child with its mother, really. There are definitely some do's and don'ts, though, and I see a lot of don'ts around town when I'm driving around. Plants will not be used to be getting full direct sunlight, and they shouldn't be placed in full direct sunlight. And by the way, most plants don't want full direct sunlight inside your house either, unless you're talking a cactus or succulent. They're really going to want more like brightly filtered sunlight. I like to think about the natural habitat that my plants grow best in. So, I have a lot of tropicals. I have a few succulents, but they are growing in a jungle naturally. So there's layers of canopy above it, and they're getting this brightly filtered sunlight. And there's plants beneath those plants that are getting a little bit less sun. And so you just have to be mindful of where you're placing the plant outside. I know sometimes you want a plant to go somewhere so badly and it'll just die there. So don't do that. Do your research. I can also help with that. That's something that I've been asked to do, actually. Let's see. Okay, yeah, covered east porch is super wonderful. That's what I have, and I really appreciate that about this house, and I think that the next house we look for, I'm going to make sure we've got an east covered porch. Because most plants can take that AM light. It's not too strong. When you're talking a west, south or west side of your house, they're going to get scorched. So, don't take your peace lily outside and immediately place it on the west side of your house, because it's going to get scorched and burnt to a crisp and die. I always laugh when I see houseplants, lovingly brought outside. People are like, "Oh, here, have some sunlight," and then, subsequently they're just burnt to a crisp. Actually, I don't know why I said that. I don't laugh, or I cry. It's not funny. It's sad. If you want some really sun tolerant plants, if that's what you got going on, start with some snake plants and succulents or cacti. Obviously, those are really good sun tolerant plants. And you can also change the tolerance of a plant by inching it closer to your desired space, like every week. Again, you just have to be mindful about what kind of plant it is and how much light it can actually take. I mean, still, a peace lily is not going to want to be stuck outside on the west side of your house or the south side of your house. It might do okay on the east side. I don't know why I keep bringing a peace lily up, but they just really don't like a lot of light. Another thing to think about is drainage. If you're placing it in an uncovered space, you don't want your plant to drown from having a sudden downpour on it. It'll just be sitting in soppy soil and it'll have some root rot going on. So make sure your plants that are uncovered have good drainage, and if they don't put them outside uncovered. It's just going to end up dying. And again, think of your plants as investments, Okay, I think this is the last one. I'm very sad. Okay, propagation. It's my favorite though. I don't know how much you guys know about propagation. It's kind of a whole class unto itself, but I wanted to mention that this is a really good time to start propagating, and if you want to experiment with it, spring and summer are going to be your best months to do it. You don't want to start propagating in fall and winter. They're not going to have a lot of success. So here I've got, I don't know if you can see it very well. He's big. All my plants are he's. I don't know why. He's a Monstera from Provider Coffee Shop. We do their plants. And he was getting overgrown and real leggy from not getting enough light over the winter. So I am going to try and propagate him 2 ways and get him back to Provider and see how he does this summer. So I'm doing 2 different methods here. I've got, this guy's really heavy. I'm doing a water propagation. Can you see me? Hello? Okay. A water propagation here, which is always pretty successful for me. I don't really have many losses doing water propagation, so I suggest that's where you start. Basically, you're going to want to take a cutting from a stem with at least 2 leaves on it. I mean, you don't want to cut one off with like 5 leaves on it. So I would say start with 2 or 3. This one's got 3. He's a little. And he's got some nodes coming out. You want to cut them to where you've got a couple nodes coming out, at least 1 node. I don't know if you can see the nodes, but they're very important. Node. So he's going to have some roots coming out. He doesn't currently, but a lot of the other ones do. What's going on, little buddy? So all these little white guys in there, if you can see them, those are all roots coming out. I've got him rooting that way. And then I've got something super advanced, I guess. It's not really, but I just wanted to try it because, hey, Corona, and I'm really bored. Air layering is what it's called, air layering. So I've taken damp moss to the nodes where the roots will eventually grow, and I've covered it with plastic wrap. Every few days I come back and I give it a little spritz with some water to keep it moist. And I already have roots popping out, and they're coming out of the saran wrap, so he's working. And then once they're long enough, I can cut them away. I just tried it for fun. It's basically the air, or it's basically doing a water technique, but just a little bit differently. The other one I've got going, I've got a baby from my spider, and he's got some nice roots going. He's pretty, and I think I am going to put him in that pot once he gets, another inch or so of roots. And some people like decorate their house with propagated plants, just plants in water, and I think that's a really cool look. If anyone wants to do that look, give me a call. I've got some Hoya in there just for fun, and then I've got some peperomia from the plant I showed earlier. We've got not a lot of growth on it yet. I just cut it last week, so just some tiny little babies. I don't know if you can even see them. But yeah, those will be new plants, and that's super duper exciting to grow your own plants. It's very rewarding to do something sciencey when you don't have a science background. Let's see. So I would wait until a smaller plant has roots that are 2 to 4 inches long, so that it has a good amount of root to grab onto the soil. Otherwise, you're kind of gonna have a lot of root rot issues, I think. I think that's probably the number one reason why propagated plants don't survive. They don't have enough root to really, they're either put in too big of a pot, or they just, don't have enough root to really hold. So for the Monstera though, I'm going to wait a little bit longer. He's a big boy. So I'll probably wait till he's about 6 inches long before I get him potted up. So, so yeah, this is a time you can start experimenting with propagation. If enough of you are interested, I'd really like to do a class, and it looks like I could maybe do one virtually. I don't know, I could figure something out. Or just do another Facebook Live. Yeah, so I think I'm going over here. But I hope you've enjoyed your time getting your plants ready for spring. If you have any questions, message me. I'd love to answer them in another live event. I've got a few classes that were postponed that I'd like to share with you. We've got a kokedama class where you can make your own hanging Japanese moss ball plant thing. And it's really beautiful. And 2 separate Houseplant 101 classes, one at Provider and another at Noble Tea and Coffee. But obviously the Rona got me, and we'll have to postpone those. The new dates will be made available once we have a better grip on the plant. The pandemic, not the plantdemic. I wish it was a plantdemic. That'd be a lot cooler. But if this was all over your head and you need some extra plant love, you can head over to my website and book an appointment, or if you know any small businesses that want any green love, let me know. Thanks you guys for joining. I really had fun talking about getting your plants ready for spring. Stay safe and stay green. See ya!